Chicago Sky, y'all stink, bro. Y'all, look, there's trash and then there's trash. You know what I'm saying? But look, man, the Chicago Sky got destroyed by the stud buds. Everybody watches the stud buds. Shout out to Courtney Williams and Tisha Eiderman, man. Listen, stud buds stood on business today. Nafisa Collier stood on business today. They destroyed the Chicago Sky.
Angel Reese looked like she was running a giveaway special, handing out 9 turnovers as casually as Oprah handing out prizes. You get a ball, you get a ball. Meanwhile, the stud buds didn't just come to play. They turned the entire court into their own highlight-powered comedy show. What was supposed to be a competitive matchup quickly spiraled into a live blooper reel, with every miscue adding fuel to the fire. It wasn't simply a rough night. It was what happens when sky-high confidence collides headfirst with pure chaos, and the result felt less like a game and more like a full-court roast that's still sizzling long after the final whistle.
Angel Reese had 9 turnovers. Listen, y'all got to stop with this point forward foolishness, man. Let's take a look, man. Hold on, man. Y'all be wildin'. Y'all be wildin', son. Bruh, come on, man. Y'all got to stop. Y'all got to stop, yo. Y'all got to stop.
1 turnover away from a triple-double. Read that again. Angel Reese was flirting with a place in basketball history, but not the kind that gets framed or etched onto a trophy. This was the kind you quietly sweep under the hardwood and hope nobody replays. 9 turnovers. Not a stat line, a full-on confession. She was out there distributing the ball like she'd launched a charity for defenders in need. Here, take it. You look like you could use a fast break. Every possession felt like a gamble, every pass like a donation, and by the end of the night, the only thing piling up faster than the giveaways was the disbelief from the crowd.
The entire WNBA and Angel Reese in garbage time. We saw it. Angel Reese last year against the Fever with like 2 minutes to go. She needed to, I think it was like 6 points and 3 rebounds. And she went and caught like 2 rebounds and then immediately goes at Victoria Saxton 3 times in a row.
At this point, you'd think the coaching staff had to be part of the bit, like this is some elaborate piece of performance art poking fun at modern team dynamics. Because honestly, the moment they try to run a real offensive set through her, the lane clogs up faster than rush hour in Los Angeles. It's like the paint itself is begging for mercy. Every time she sets up shop down there, feet planted like she's building a campsite, the spacing disappears and the flow just dies. And don't even mention the pick and roll. The only thing that ends up rolling is the ball straight into the other team's hands, turning what should be a scoring opportunity into another fast break disaster the other way.
Chases after this opponent, gets close to her during a box out, grabs her by her hips, and hip tosses her, throwing her to the ground. She stands up, she walks over to this opponent, bends over, screams in her face, and flips her the double bird. That's the WNBA gold. We're gonna get into it. And the laughter. Oh, Angel. Oh, my angel. You're my darling. Angel, angel, angel. You've been playing well, Angel. I give it to you. You've been playing well. But every now and then, those stinkers. Oh, man.
So instead of risking a full-blown offensive meltdown, they've seemingly handed her the honorary title of facilitator, which sounds wholesome and developmental. If this were kindergarten rec league and not professional basketball. Facilitator, as in, we're not exactly confident in the finish, so please move it along before things catch fire. Because when she's not dishing it out under pressure, she's clanking shots off the rim. If she's not clanking, she's off balance and scrambling. And if she's not scrambling, she's traveling, sometimes on the hardwood, sometimes spiritually, drifting further and further away from the rim like it personally offended her.
Like, there's absolutely no foul in that. She gets a good whistle, jumps up, and then goes at somebody on the other team. Who's she go at? She goes at Diamond Miller, her former Maryland teammate. And, like, Angel's 1 tech off a suspension as well. And is like, anytime anyone gets into it with her, she's straight in their face. And I'm like, I don't mind that. But you just gotta be smart. To be fair, the sky sucks, so you might as well just go and take your I'll say it.
It's not just about a bad stretch anymore. That's how it feels to critics watching The Spiral. The frustration has reached conspiracy theory levels, like everyone sees the struggles, but no one wants to say it plainly. To them, Angel Reese isn't just having an off night or adjusting to the pace. She looks lost. Not learning curve lost. More like, why is she still out there? Lost. The footwork looks heavy, the hands uncertain, and the offense keeps stalling with her planted in the middle of it, like something jammed in the gears. And yet, pulling her would mean admitting the bigger picture isn't as polished as the highlight packages suggested. Benching her would feel like peeling back months of hype and PR optimism. So instead, she stands at the top of the key, gesturing and calling out sets while teammates weave around her like it's controlled chaos. The intention might be structure, but the execution often turns into confusion. The ball moves, sure, just not always to the right jersey. And that's where the tension really lives, not in one stat line, but in the growing gap between expectation and reality.
Just when I thought she was turning her season around, just when I thought Angel Reese was graduating from pretend basketball player to make-believe basketball player, the level where it's almost believable that Angel Reese is a basketball player. Just when I thought Angel Reese would pull through in the clutch and do America a favor. With a win last night against the Minnesota Lynx, Angel Reese would have become the most popular player in the WNBA dump. Well, Casey, that's simply not possible. Caitlin Clark will always be the most popular player in the WNBA.
And what really fuels the criticism is how visible the adjustments look in real time. You can see teammates recalibrating possessions on the fly, spacing a little wider, hesitating on cuts, second-guessing entry passes. It's not the fluid rhythm of trust. It's the cautious choreography of damage control. When timing is off or reads are late, everyone feels it. Screens come a beat slow, passes float a second too long, and suddenly what should have been a clean set turns into a scrambled drill. That's where the irony hits hardest for critics of Angel Reese. For all the narratives about toughness and leadership, they argue she's become less of a stabilizer and more of a variable the team has to account for. Not an anchor in the hold steady sense, but in the we're dragging sense. 9 turnovers stop feeling like a temporary hiccup and start looking in their eyes like a deeper identity issue. Standing in the dunker spot while a teammate gets trapped might be called positioning, but when it doesn't relieve pressure, it reads as congestion. Right now, the harshest takeaway isn't that she's missing shots, it's that possessions feel fragile. Instead of bending defenses, the offense sometimes bends around her. And when momentum flips the other way, it can feel less like a routine mistake and more like an unexpected plot twist, just not the kind any team wants in crunch time.
I know why people are defending this. Let's get into it. Nneka Ogwumike, she gets up, proceeds to get boxed out, unable to move her opponent out of the way. Nneka Ogwumike retaliates, grabs her by the hips, throws her to the floor, stands over her, screams on her, flips her the double bird. Quinterly, Dallas Wings teammate, being a good teammate, gets in the middle of the two, pushes Nneka out of the way like a good teammate should. Instead of saying, Nneka, come here, let me get you a hug. No, get up off my teammate, girl. Get up off my teammate. Nneka Ogwumike can't let it go.
You can tell the temperature's rising when defenses start scheming for someone to touch the ball instead of away from them. That's how critics are framing it with Angel Reese lately, like opponents are daring the offense to run through her, almost baiting the possession. Let her cook, the joke goes, except the punchline is that the dish never quite comes together. When a defense shades off and loads up elsewhere, it's rarely accidental. It's a calculation. Transition only magnifies the scrutiny. After a live ball turnover, every second matters. If the recovery sprint lacks urgency or angles are off, it sticks out. Effort that looks more cosmetic than corrective becomes easy fodder for criticism. Body language dissected, hustle questioned, intensity measured against outcome. And then there's the sideline. Coaches don't miss patterns. They see the film, the spacing, the stalled sets. But development in pro basketball is rarely linear, and sometimes staffs stick with players through rough stretches, hoping reps iron out the wrinkles. To outsiders, that patience can look like denial. To insiders, it might be long-term investment. The disconnect between those perspectives is where the tension lives. Meanwhile, the optics machine keeps humming, measured press conferences, carefully trimmed highlight clips, optimism packaged for public consumption. That contrast between polished messaging and messy possessions is what keeps the narrative alive. Because in the end, the stat sheet always tells its own story, and whether it reflects growth or growing pains depends on what happens next.
I'm telling you, with a win last night, Angel Reese would have surpassed the Rue from Waterloo in popularity. Now, I am not saying that her dozens of aliases would have passed Caitlin Clark, but Angel Reese herself, she definitely would have. Going into the game last night, Cheryl Reed, the head coach of the Minnesota Lynxers, she told the doofus duo who refer to themselves as stud buds, she told them if they lost this game to the Chicago Bravado, they would no longer be allowed to stream on Twitch.
To critics, the whole thing feels like a case study in selective storytelling. Shape the highlight package carefully enough, and maybe people forget the final margin. Forget the blown coverage, the rushed possessions, the moments where momentum literally trips over itself. In that version off the narrative, the focus stays tight, the rough edges trimmed away. The frustration, they argue, is that it doesn't just affect one player. When sets stall or spacing collapses, everyone adjusts. Shooters hesitate. Cutters reroute. Players who thrive on timing and tempo end up orbiting possessions that never quite stabilize. That's where the resentment creeps in, not just about performance, but about priorities. Is the emphasis on development? On brand? On protecting an investment? From the outside, it can look like image management over immediate results, and yet, even in the middle of the backlash, there's an uncomfortable truth. Angel Reese didn't create the hype machine alone. Narrative snowball. A double-double flashes across the screen, and it reads like dominance at a glance. But numbers don't always capture timing, efficiency, defensive rotations, or how possessions actually feel in motion. A stat line can sparkle while the flow looks disjointed. That's the divide fueling the debate. Some fans see production. Others see chaos wrapped in polish. The harshest critics call it smoke and mirrors. Supporters call it growth in progress. Either way, the gap between expectation and execution is what keeps the spotlight hot. Because in pro basketball, perception can inflate quickly, but it also deflates just as fast when the eye test doesn't match the box score.
Lads, Angel Reese is currently about to be suspended. She has 7 technical fouls on the season. And if this was last season, in a 44-game season, she would have already been suspended. And it is genuinely one of the funny things about this is that her fans are arguing that none of the techs are warranted. They are all warranted.
And this is where the criticism gets especially sharp. Detractors look at the rebounds and shrug. Yes, she grabs them. But they argue a chunk come off her own misses, like self-assisted stat padding. An offensive board after an airball doesn't feel like dominance to them. It feels like cleanup duty. They joke it's janitorial work in a headband, mopping up a mess you just made. Then there are the points. On paper, double digits look steady. But critics claim the volume sometimes masks the volatility. They see possessions bent out of shape trying to force feed her touches, as if the game plan insists she be central whether the flow supports it or not. The comparison isn't subtle, fed like a powerhouse in the paint, finishing like the timing glitched. Every attempt feels like a coin flip, every drive like threading traffic at rush hour. And yet, through sheer repetition, the box score fills. 10 points appear. A double-double flashes. To supporters, that's production. To skeptics, it's accumulation without control. The disconnect between those interpretations is why the debate around Angel Reese keeps simmering. One side sees relentless activity and rebounding instinct. The other sees chaos dressed up as contribution. The truth probably lives somewhere between the sarcasm and the stat sheet. Rebounds still require positioning. Points still count. But efficiency, timing, and decision-making shape how those numbers feel in real time. And until the eye test and the box score tell the same story, the whispers, fair or not, aren't going anywhere.
Angel Reese, the most toxic player in all of basketball, is out here slapping clipboards out of her coaching staff's hand because she's so mad her team committed a foul in the crunch after she shot 15 free throws this game. This is the lowest of the low disrespect that you can show to your coaching staff. She trying to get y'all locked in, worried about the next play, and you so toxic with your terrible, awful attitude that you slap the clipboard out of her hand.
For critics, the disconnect feels jarring. They hear face of the league attached to Angel Reese and wonder which version of the court that label is based on. Because in their eyes, the on-floor product hasn't matched the branding. They don't see a blueprint for running a crisp pick and roll or anchoring a defense with pristine positioning. They see stalled possessions, drives into traffic that flatten momentum, and post touches that take just a beat too long to develop. The harshest commentary paints it like performance art, an offense freezing in place while she occupies the paint, defenders sagging, teammates spacing wider just in case. When she catches it on the block, there's that collective inhale. Will it be a rushed, off-balance attempt, or a bailout pass flung toward the perimeter under pressure? That unpredictability is what fuels the satire, but labels like face of the league aren't handed out solely for footwork and timing. They're about visibility, storylines, market pull, personality, things that extend beyond a single possession. The friction comes when branding momentum outpaces basketball consistency. Fans who value efficiency and flow bristle at the gap. Supporters point to rebounding totals, physical presence, and long-term upside in the end. The debate isn't really about one wild drive or one slow gather. It's about expectation versus execution. When the spotlight is that bright, every hesitation looks magnified, every mistake feels symbolic. And until the on-court rhythm consistently matches the off-court hype, the commentary, fair or exaggerated, will stay loud.
What's up, y'all? I just want to talk about this chick, Angel Reese, for a second. She has been all over my timeline, over my Twitter or X, Instagram, TikTok. She's always pushing people and this and that. She's always in controversy. So let me address this situation real quick. How is she a professional athlete? Like, can we step back for a second and just analyze this situation? How in the world is this chick a professional athlete? She is, out of all the clips that I've seen, she is the worst basketball player I've ever seen.
Critics argue that the numbers alone don't tell the story. Yes, Angel Reese can put up 14 and 12, but the eye test tells a very different tale. Possession stall, spacing collapses, and ball movement suffers like it's caught in a traffic jam. Stats pile up when she's playing 30-plus minutes, and the offense funnels through her regardless of efficiency, but accumulation doesn't equal impact. There's a stark difference between stats that help the team win and stats that merely pad the box score after a 20-point blowout. In the eyes of critics, Reese often inhabits the latter. Flashy, filling, but ultimately empty calories. Looks satisfying on paper, but not really feeding the team's success. Then there's the demeanor. Celebrations on a layup while down double digits, chirping after a missed free throw. Moments that read as tone-deaf rather than confident. Swagger works when it's earned, when buckets follow the flex. Without that, it teeters into parody. Observers note that while she plays with veteran-level confidence, the fundamentals, spacing, timing, shot selection, sometimes resemble someone learning the game from TikTok tutorials. It's a blend of bravado and inconsistency, and for those watching closely, it raises the question, confidence is great, but should it really mask chaos?
Made some comments about Angel Reese.
Yeah.
You called her garbage compared to Caitlin Clark.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I love black people. Mwah, 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 mwah. But I think sometimes we do play the race card too much. This ain't racial. This is about sports. This is about athletic ability. You know what I'm saying? And when you look at Caitlin Clark's game, who's very reminiscent of a Steph Curry based on her range and shooting the three, plus everything else she does. And then you look at Angel Reese.
Swagger is one thing, but critics argue that Angel Reese has crossed the line into delusion. Right now, she seems to be starring in her own motivational poster, except the mantra reads, "Shoot your shot, miss the rim entirely, and turn it over 5 times in a row." And the commentary circus doesn't help. Analysts praise her energy and presence, but detractors point out that energy alone doesn't translate to effectiveness. A car crash has energy, a traffic cone has presence, but neither wins games. True impact comes when effort and skill combine, not when movement exists for its own sake. Under the scrutiny of fans and media, every misstep becomes fodder for memes, and each game feeds the blooper reel narrative. Yet the minutes keep coming, the reps keep flowing, and the spotlight stays fixed. Meanwhile, teammates adapt in real time, navigating possessions around her like planets orbiting a star whose light burns as much as it illuminates. Numbers may appear respectable, but the system adjusts constantly, and critics see a delicate balance being masked by stats and theatrics. The team survives, but sometimes only barely, while the focus remains on keeping one player's box score shining.
I'm sorry, but I don't know who need to hear this, but Angel Reese gotta be the worst basketball player ever. She's the worst basketball player ever. Like, do y'all guys don't understand this? She only made 2 points with 12 rebounds. She missed a couple of shots and she missed a rebound, bro. She only made 12 rebounds. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but 12 rebounds.
But eventually, reality has a way of surfacing. Critics argue that Angel Reese can't rely on hype forever. Turnovers accumulate, shot selection falters, and the effort that once looked explosive starts to feel performative. Fans who watch with their eyes open, not just their feeds, begin to notice the cracks. The flashy box scores become fool's gold, and the narrative of dominance loses its shine. Sometimes the face of basketball is less a beacon and more a mask covering a series of missteps, missed layups, awkward footwork, and stalled possessions. Sure, the numbers like 14 points and 12 rebounds catch attention, but critics caution against reading them in isolation. Beneath the double-double lies a different story. 9 turnovers, clogged lanes, confused teammates, and a scoreboard that tells a harsher truth. The performances may look impressive in highlight form, but the eye test and the team's results reveal a double dose of denial and relentless turnover tracker quietly ticking in the background.